Okay, we're all done piecing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna piece our block together. So first we have to put A and B together, and then we can sew on C and D. So I'm just going to flip them together so it's right sides together. I'm gonna line up all the edges here. I'm going to line up the sides, the top, and the other side. So I'm gonna make sure everything stays really nice into position. I'm gonna give it a couple clips here and take a look at if I had points that I needed to make sure that they lined up. Like say I had two flying geese coming together, what I would do is I would poke a pin directly through the center, and you want to make sure that comes out right on the line on the other side. That way you know that when you stitch, when you poke, when you're sewing, when you come right straight through, that it will be perfectly a 1/4 inch on both sides. So that's how I check both my points and my seam allowance. So once that's into position, you want to sew starting before the bold line. You sew all the way, all the way down to the end, completely through the seam allowance there. So that way everything will stay super, super nice. You can lock your stitches here if you want, but it should be, looks a little bit, tad bit off there, but it should be directly on the seam allowance on both sides. And now you can see how wonderfully perfect that is. You can fold the seam allowance back that way, or you can open it. It's totally a personal preference. It is kind of bulky right here, so maybe I'm going to open that one just so it's not super thick when I go to quilt it later. So now you can see how nice these ones line up. This is the same size as this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them right sides together, and I want to line up all the edges because we've trimmed them so perfectly. I'm going to put a clip there. I'm going to put a clip there, and then I'm going to grab a pin. And now we do have something that we're going to try to line up. We do want to try to line up this corner here with this corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pin directly through. So try not to poke yourself. It looks like it's a tiny bit off. So I'm going to shift this over a little bit. So now you can actually see the sandwich here. So you can see this is the, maybe you can't see it. Is it close enough? You can see that this is the white fabric folded back right here and right here. And so when I poke it straight through, not at an angle, try not to poke yourself through the other side, it should be directly on the center there. So I'm going to grab one more pin just to make sure that or clip, make sure that stays really where I want it to go so that it will look amazing. So I'm going to line that up really nicely. Now you can poke it straight through, and you can see whether or not that is going to, I think it was just off when I poked it. I'm going to adjust it a little bit so that it will line up perfectly. I'm going to actually clip that seam allowance there. And then again, you can test your position by poking your corners and seeing how those ones come out like that. And that looks pretty fantastic to me. I'm going to clip that. And since I'm going to start on this side, I'm just going to test my corner, and I'm going to hold it in position while I go and sew it. So I'm going to hold that down, and I'm going to sew that entire seam allowance. I'm going to pause, take my clip out. I'm going to pause again. I'm going to press this down so that it's not. I'm going to keep pressure on there where that pin was for the clip. And then again, take it out and sew all the way across. Cut my threads, and then we can check out how awesome that looks. So that is super nice. Our corners are lined up really good. The edges here and here are lined up really nice. And so I'm going to actually press this open. So I'm going to press it like so. And now I'm going to use an iron and press that. Oops. Looks like, oops. That one's going to have to get pressed this way because it looks like I didn't, we're just going to leave it.